You are listening to Build, Excite, Equip, easy change management for project teams. I am your host, Nicola Graham, coming to you as a business change manager, entrepreneur and author, as well as discussing top tips and tricks for project teams to use to improve your project adoptions. Let's get started. Hi everyone, happy Friday. This is Nicola Graham and you are at my live webinar. Thank you for joining us today, where we're going to discuss projects equal people. So it's talking around utilising your existing teams to facilitate change within your organisation. Before we get into the nitty-gritties, I'd like to first and foremost give you a full introduction about myself. My name is Nicola Graham. I am an international business change management expert. I've worked across lots of different industries for way too many years. I am a speaker, but also a best-selling author of my Build, Excite, Equip book, which is based on a business change model. I have an extensive background consulting across the UK top 4 consultancy firms. I've worked for FTSE 100 companies. I've worked for our local government. I've also been part of the National Health Service at one point in my career and several different global organisations. So it's fair to say that I am an expert in what I do. I started my career, actually, ironically, in sales, but moved into project management, focusing on the technology industry. So my first experience in project management, I was working in lots of different methodologies, including Prince2 and Agile. I also become BA certified as well within Agile. And my project management experience ranged from out-of-the-box solutions to inbuilt business solutions that we were trying to provide the organisation. I was even an infrastructure PM at one point in my career. I did move over to what I consider to be the dark side, which is obviously the light side, really. I trained in ProSci, become lean change qualified, and also the B methodology qualified as well. I do have lots of different channels that I utilise, that I also talk to you through. So I have influence on YouTube, or I have a podcast that lots of people download and tend to enjoy. And obviously I'm also on LinkedIn. So if you are seeing the screen right now and you wish to connect with me, please go ahead and scan my LinkedIn, my Linktree QR code that you can see there, and from that you can have a look at the different types of channels that I have for you. I now run my own company called Be Change Limited. The reason I started Be Change Limited is because I came to a stage in my career where I really wanted to change the way that projects were being managed. It was so centered around the deliverables and achievements of projects, which are crucial. But I felt that in my career, I very much had a situation where I wasn't really, I wasn't given the skills to support the people as much as they could be supported. And at the same time, working as a business change manager, I could also see all of the wonderful things that project teams were doing, but they weren't really being recognized by the business. So I wanted to change that around. I wanted to make that different. So it's our aim within the company to redefine that process and make it more people-friendly focused. And we do that through the Build, Excite, Equip method, which I'd like to talk to you about today. So I just want to talk a little bit about the kind of history over, say, the last 24 years. And I thought this would be a really great example for you when it comes to what we consider to be an end user desktop. Now, for those of you that are here today, you may or may not remember this. I do. So shows my age a bit more. But essentially, back in the year of 2000, our computing desktops, our desks looked very different to what they do today. For example, we used to have things like the desktop computers, the big monitors that sat on your desk. And next then we would have our huge desktop computers rather than a laptop. We would have things like floppy disks. We would have the introduction of CD-ROMs. Dot matrix printers were a thing, landline telephones, fax machines, if anyone remembers those, and lots of paper items. So everything from calendars to notebooks, post-it notes, paper files, folders, Rolodexes, if you ever use those as well. So our situation was very much heavily focused on our our use of paper, but also human intervention with everything we did. And it was very siloed. We would sit at our desks, focus on what we needed to achieve, and majority of this was done through communication, verbal communication rather than collaborative tools. There was also the thing of Microsoft Windows 2000. For those who remember the Millennium days, it was a really exciting opportunity around the operating system that Microsoft had pulled out at that time. Now, if we fast tracked that now over to a 2024 setup, this is what we're looking at today. And whilst I don't know about you, my desktop doesn't look as funky as this one does. ChatGPT was kind enough to help me with the images for today. What we do see is we see ultra thin laptops. We see widescreen, high resolution monitors, often more than one of those, so we can obviously work across different things at one time. We have what we call smart desks. I tend to have a Raising desk now, obviously for my health benefits. Lots of wireless charging stations. We've got VR, we've got AR headsets, noise cancelling headphones. Smartphones as a whole have obviously been a massive movement in the last 24 years. We now look at VoIP services, so rather than having that landline, we can speak through our computers. We very much focus on hybrid working, obviously, especially since the pandemic. People tend to have a situation where they are working on the move. They're working remotely at home, in different office spaces, whatever it might be. And we also have this thing called the cloud, right? Back in 2000, no one had a clue what the cloud was. Now we understand what cloud is, and that is about storing your files on any device, anywhere, anytime, so you can access all of the information at at your fingertips. And not to mention the operating systems. So back in the day, obviously, Microsoft were a heavy player in the operating system side of things. Now we've got lots of different opportunities when it comes to operating systems. Some of us are Mac users, some of us are Microsoft users, some of us are Google users. So there has been a significant change to the way that we work as a whole. I'd like to introduce you to somebody. I'd like you all to meet Jane. Now, Jane is a colleague of mine. She started her career as a 25-year-old back in 2000 after university, and Jane started her career as a personal assistant. Okay. Now, over the years, Jane has seen a huge change in her career, in her working environments. So the Jane of 25 years of age was looking at a desk setup that we had before. She would have worked very siloed. She would have had an office experience with her colleagues where they would have discussed things face to face, lots of meetings face to face, stuff that we could consider quite time consuming, but also very personal and very easy to embrace. In 2024, Jane turns 49 years of age, obviously a mature woman in her career. She now has a completely different situation. She has had to adapt over these years to all of the changes that's come her way. Some of those physical, some of those more software-based, more learning. Just think about the change that Jane has had to experience. How does this slide make you feel? All of these yellow spots that you see on the screen, these are different go lives. Now, Jane has lived throughout her career with this era of digital disruption, which means that as Jane has progressed, especially over the last 10 years, she has received constant disruption and constant change, different messages, different priorities, different softwares. 1 minute she's using this, the next minute she's using that. And if you consider something like Jane in her career, actually, this is very disruptive for her. And it puts her into a situation where maybe she's fatigued. Maybe she's just getting really fed up because she just wants to do her job at the end of the day. And constant change is being presented to Jane. Now, I mentioned previously that I was a project manager and I moved into business change management. And I have in my career, I've interviewed several people, specifically project managers, and I've asked them the questions of, okay, guys, tell me, how are we engaging the business? I come into a new project, what's happening? What are we doing? Now, project managers as a whole, or project teams, tend to focus on three really important areas. One, time; the other, quality; the other, cost. And we all know, in the ethos of our different methodologies, these are crucial for a successful project. However, there is another area that is crucial for a project to succeed, and it's called taking people on the journey. Now, when you speak to a project manager, or if you are a project manager or you're working in a project team today, I will just ask you, think about when you do engage with the business people. What kind of engagement do you have today? And be really honest and true with yourself. What kind of things do you do? Now, previous people I've spoken to, I've asked them the exact same question, and I get quite a standardized response to that. Here on the screen, we've got 5 stages of a project life cycle, and those black lines you see in between, these are all the stage gates. So essentially, from a governance perspective, what we need to do is we need to achieve activities and deliverables per stage for us to move and progress to the second phase of our project. Now, when I ask project managers what they do in, say, stage 1, the pre-initiation or the initiation, however you might terminalize that in your company, they would tell me things like, yeah, we meet with some senior stakeholders, and of course we have a business requirements workshop, because that's obviously what we need to achieve. And I say, okay, brilliant. What else do you do? Well, when we start to think about the design of our project, Nick, we start creating communication plans. Awesome. What is a communication plan? So what we do is we work out when our go live is going to be, and then we look at maybe sending some emails out 2 weeks before. Excuse me, I'm losing my throat. 2 weeks before, or a month before, or whatever it might be, however they deem those communication plans to be for them. Okay, great. What else do you do? Well, of course, we think about training for our people. So if our budget allows, we get a trainer in. Excellent. Or we create training plans. So that might mean that we put them in contact with a trainer, or we put them live. We give them some links to the software that the manufacturer has given us to train them. Okay, great. And then when we start building this, we involve the business people, because we do the user acceptance testing with them. So we make sure that they test the system for us, and they have early access to it, and they can play around, and they can give us their feedback. Brilliant. And then when it comes to go live, which we see here in stage 4, of course, we send those emails out, right? And then we do that optional training. So the challenge with some of these things, first and foremost, communications based on emails really truly don't work, because people don't read emails, or seldom read emails from a project team. They're inundated. Remember Jane before? She's inundated by our projects. So she's got at sometimes 4 or 5 different project managers emailing her, do this, need that, go live there. She begins to kind of merge them into a blur of disruption. And so she stops reading them. And then when it comes to the training, it's really hard to motivate people to attend training, because half the time they don't know that it exists because they haven't read the email that you sent them. But also, it becomes lower priority in their day roles. They still have jobs to do at the end of the day. So these touch points are great, but there is so much more we can do to start to engage the people on our project journeys. I always talk about return on investment. Return on investment is obviously the main reason we do a project, right? So the return on investment could be anything. It can be based on cost savings, it can be based on efficiencies, it can be based on productivity. Whatever the benefit of doing your project, there will always be a return on investment. And the way that we monitor our return on investments is we look at, once we go live, what is the benefit going to achieve? So if we take an example of it's going to help people be more efficient, great. What we expect is we expect to see this upward trend with that efficiency. So when we come to measure that, we can start saying, yeah, these people are more efficient. Now, the challenge we're faced with is, if you recall my slide before, you end up with this really frustrated business that don't just find project teams frustrating, they start to actually boycott and think, you know what? Nick, the project manager, is talking to me yet again. She's thrown something over the fence to me. She expects me to pick this up and use this. I've got a day job to do. So actually, what you end up doing is you end up getting this resistance group that boycott and refuse to use your wonderful project that you're offering them. And the challenge with that then is that return on investment that you have predicted that you're going to get actually doesn't work. It doesn't provide a benefit because those people aren't using your product. They aren't using your process, your change. And therefore, what happens is you end up having to keep two applications open, or they become less productive than what you anticipated. And you start to see a negative return on investment. So you see this red line that you see on this graph here. And actually, what then happens, and this has been my career's experience, is you have a business change manager parachuted into what they're now deeming to be a failing project because people aren't using it, people aren't aware of it, people aren't willing to relinquish a legacy system. And in fact, I had a conversation today with a colleague of mine who was explaining that actually they always try to talk to their clients about adding business change onto the package that they take from them, and they always say no, it's too expensive for us, don't worry, we'll do it ourselves. And then sure enough, a couple of months down after go live, they phone them up and say, actually, people aren't using this product, we need the change management activities. But the challenge you're faced with there is, you've already started to lose your return on investment. So you've got this downward trend. And then as a business change manager, you get parachuted into this really resistance group. Doors are slammed shut. And then it takes me I take time then to obviously try and prise these doors open and say, hey guys, come on, let's work together. Let me help you. Let's talk about how this solution will benefit you. So from go live, you can have sometimes months and months and months of loss before I turn it around so that people start embracing the change. And then you start to see the blue line that focuses through the black. And you can see here on the graph that actual return on investment starts to be made once people start to be onboarded. Now, the truth is, if we improved our engagement with people from the very, very start of our projects, you will have people engaged from day one. And you will be able to achieve what is the best line on this graph, the green one, which is an upward trend on your success benefits from go live, sometimes even before. 70% of projects don't achieve their desired outcomes as a result of missing the vital element, engaging the people. So challenges that I have identified, I break them down into three areas. The first one is projects. There is an inadequate recognition of change management significance in projects. I have been speaking about the return on investment benefits for years now. It has been my go-to speech. We need to change the way that people are included into projects for us to meet our return on investment. I have been speaking that for years, and the message still isn't there. We have a challenge. People do not recognize change management significance there. And the other challenge in a project is the project is delivered. You can send some wonderful projects out into the business, but people are unwilling to adopt it for the reasons I've spoken about. Their resistance, they don't know it's there. They don't know why they want this benefit. They have no idea why they want it or how to use it, and therefore they don't adopt it. Resource. Because there's no recognition of change management, resources are not allocated in a change management budget. There's always a lack of budget when it comes to the resources you need within your project to do those change management activities. And then finally, time. How many of us here are running through projects which are fast paced, bang, 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 come on, we've got to make this change, we've got to push this product out, it's got to do this new launch, whatever it might be, how big or small that is, time is always of the essence. So to then pull in a change management process onto a very tight schedule and overmaxed project team is a lot to ask. There is a true saying: give a man a fish and he'll eat for a day. Teach a man to fish and he'll eat for a lifetime. I like to think if you give a project a change manager, he'll improve that project's return on investments, the green line. But if you teach a project manager to apply change activities, he'll improve all of his return on investments. So, what is the solution here? First and foremost, the solution is be part of the 30% of projects that succeed because they've engaged the people. Start engaging people into your projects. It's as simple as that. Fine. How do we do that? First and foremost, the Challenger project is about creating awareness. If we raise awareness within our organizations from seniors down, if everyone understands why it's crucial to the success of a project, it will become a more endorsed area of your projects. The second one, resource, upskilling. Again, teach a project manager change activities, upskill and empower your project teams so that you can feel confident to take on change activities, and just ensure that you provide them with a suitable training on how to do that. And then time, just keep it lightweight. Focus on agile change activities that are simple enough to follow with enough dummy guides and easy to follow templates that they can actually turn this around on the go. You learn today, you act tomorrow, rather than this whole long drawn out process. A few things that you can automatically stop doing. So I wanted to focus today on some ideas that I can hopefully help you with today. The first one is emails. Now, within projects, we send emails, and I mentioned the 2% before. 2% of people read an email from project team. And the reason that they probably don't read your emails is a lot of the time, especially when we're in a technical technical rollout, is emails are over convoluted for them. They have too much jargon in them. There's too much detail. I mean, if you look at the example I've got on the screen today, first and foremost, the language used is very hard to understand. Not everybody in a business understands things like Azure and cloud and migrations. They kind of don't get what that means. And they're immediately going to start seeing that and going, okay, that's a service thing. It doesn't relate to me. I don't really need to read it. Second of all, dear user, if there's one take home from today's session, please stop calling people users. There's only really one industry you can call somebody a user, and it's not a positive connotation. They're not users. We are people. We are colleagues. We have names. So if you're going to change one thing, stop saying dear user. Dear colleagues is a nicer terminology for others to read. And then this email is just full of too much information and too much to read. I always talk about accessibility. Now, some people struggle to read things on a screen. I myself personally struggle to find it hard to read black on white. I don't know why, but it just the words can jumble up, and I see it as too busy. Don't expect everybody is able to read so much context on an email. So find a way where you can add pictures or colors or simple text, big bold text, just say, bam, this is the bit that you need to know. Here's some information if you want to read it. You can change this immediately. It's something you can do today. So how can you do that? Do it in the right way. I talk about in the methodology that I train on, I talk around the inverted triangle. This is around writing your emails like a marketeer. Now, I haven't made this email particularly fancy, by the way. I haven't added logos. I haven't added colors. I've just wanted to show you a simple change that you can make. The first thing that you can do is you can focus on grabbing attention. If you flick through a magazine or you're looking through a website, what do you see to start with? You see projects equal people. You don't see, hey guys, you need to understand that actually people need to be involved in your projects because they need to be taken along the journey. You see a bold statement. And with that, you're grabbing attention. It makes people stop and it makes people read. So in this scenario here, would you like faster emails that you can access from anywhere? Think like the people. What do they need to know from this? Actually, it's going to benefit me because it means that my email is going to be faster. Great. Grab attention. The next part of that is build anticipation. Make people feel excited. Good news. Great. Awesome. We're doing this. Like, this is what's happening, guys. It's going to be amazing. Grab that, build that anticipation so people continue to read. Obviously, here I've got things in bold. I've got some things bigger. Make it easier for people to see it. And then the final thing is around call into action. So add links to other information. Maybe you've got some training that you can point them to. Make it obvious. Make it a blue link. Click here. Give them options to contact somebody if they need to, and leave it nice and kind. Warmest regards, your project team, your Outlook migration project team. Just that one change in the way you write emails will be massive for your audience to read. Okay. And don't forget, we live in a world now where we do have AI as an option. If you don't feel particularly strong in this suit, then chuck in your information to ChatGPT or Copilot, whatever you're using from your industry specific systems. Put that information in there and ask ChatGPT to make it easier for you, and they'll be able to do that. It really can be done with the press of a button. The other thing at this point to remember is emails. I mentioned the 2%. 2% of people don't read your emails. The reason they don't read your emails is A, because they're like this, but also, sorry to say, you're not their focus in their world. They're more focused on their colleagues, and they're more focused especially on their direct line managers. So a way that you can ensure that your emails are being read is you can ask the line managers to send them down. Because I know that Jane is going to read an email from her boss over somebody from a project team. Ask them to send it. You're more likely to get 69% of people is the ratio of people do read an email from their managers. So ask them for that, to send that out on your behalf. Create it, ask them to send it out, and voila, you're going to have a lot more engagement. But that is just emails, by the way. I don't consider communication plans and engagement plans to be fully focused on emails. I think there's so much more that you can do, and that's what we talk about in our course. But that's one little tip for you today. I mentioned the build, excite, equip ways. The way that we work our methodology is we focus in two areas. The first one is we embed the methodology in existing toolkits. In your organization, you will have a framework, or you'll have a handbook, a PM handbook or a toolkit, I hope. You'll have some sort of guidance as to what you need to do when. What the B methodology does is it inserts activities that are people-focused, so that what you end up with is a people-focused PM toolkit. So it means that along your journey, when you're doing your different deliverables, you're achieving your different activities, you can actually focus more on the people stuff. So it helps you, it guides you, and it ensures that you don't forget things along the way. The other thing that we do at Be Change is we also upskill people. So we can upskill you and your teams with the knowledge on how to do that. We speak about the why, but how do you do that? So you can do that with training with the correct people and the teams, which will help with that awareness, but it will also simplify the activities so that you can truly do this. Everything we talk about in the B methodology is stuff that you can do. It truly is. You and your teams can do that. I mentioned about overlaying it. There's different ways that you can overlay your the methodology into your projects. So again, we've got the five phases at the top: initiation, design, build, go live, close. The focus on change activities will vary, based on what kind of project that you're running, the size of the project. It might be very lightweight, for example, or it might be really busy. But also it's based on the kind of organization that you work in. So this is an example on screen. In the initiation and design phases of a project, the engagement, taking people on that journey, there are different deliverables that you can achieve, and they focus on your organization, understanding that the cultures, the maturities, creating engagement plans. How can we truly start to engage with the people? And it also looks at disruption. We mentioned that Jane had 5 go lives going in 1 month. Actually, let's understand when the best time for Jane is to receive a go live. And if you start to understand these things and you start to measure them, you'll be able to engage so much better, but also your project will have a better outcome because you have ensured that you're thinking people centric. Then we focus on things in the build phase. In our methodology, it's the excite, and that's very much rallying the troops. It is about creating a good marketing campaign. It's informing the right people. We call them change agents in our methodology, and those that are impacted by that change. And then it's also around marketing that change, going out and selling it. And it's not necessarily you that's selling it, by the way. This is not me saying, hey, you've got to do all these things yourself. This is somebody is going to be marketing for you. And if you've built and prepared your plans strong enough, you'll have those change agents in place that can do that for you. And then the final area around go live and close is around equipping. And this again isn't around, hey, I now need to train everybody. This isn't the case. It's about ensuring that the correct training is there and that the correct people can provide support. So we talk about change agents, our influencers, our champions, and equipping them with the skills that they need to ensure that they can help their colleagues along the way. Essentially, it's talking to one person and letting that person extrapolate the message out for you. It's also around ensuring that we have the right support materials there in the first place. Pointing people to the right knowledge base, for example, will really help them. This also overlays into an agile. Maybe you're sat there thinking, oh, well, actually, I don't really work in a waterfall. Now, agile is obviously a more complex thing to display. So this is an example for you today. But what my experience has been with agile is it depends what kind of agile focus you have, but it tends to be more of a hybrid situation. So there will be things that you build and plan at the start of your project, and then maybe you go into a sprint phase. And during that sprint phase, you will be honing in on specific departments or peoples or groups. Within the B methodology, what we teach you is how you can focus different parts of change activities based on those groups. So then it comes secular, but it also comes about reviewing and refining along the way. So as you, for example, would go into a development and test, it might be that you are providing communications as in the excite, and you're providing ability to learn as in the equip along that way. And the beauty of this is then when you come round to reviewing, you then have an ability to refine your work as you go along. So what we see in the trend of the B methodology in Agile is that by the end, you have such a squeaky clean system with knowing how you can take people on that journey, but also how you can invigorate them at the end. So stuff goes in, things change, stuff comes out. Let me give you another example of things that you can do differently today. I've had actually quite a few conversations recently about stakeholder engagements, and too many examples actually now where a project team have thought or assumed that their key stakeholders have been aware and engaged and willing and embracing the change that's coming to them, and they've got all the way down to the build and often the go live, and they've realized some really, really scary things, that actually that person that they thought was engaged didn't really understand what was going on from the outlet. And they've gone, no, 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 this system doesn't work for us. Sorry, we can't use that. Or they haven't even supported their teams in giving them the time to embrace the change. This is an area that you can change immediately. In the build phase, we talk about preparing and planning, and one of the assessments, the activities that we do is what is called a key stakeholder assessment. And that can be done in different ways. It might be that you use an in-house system to do that, or it might be that you interview people or focus in on people, but essentially it's about collecting data. And this is something that if you've got a strong BA, they can do very quickly for you. But essentially, it's asking them questions, and the questions focus around 5 different areas. They focus on project knowledge. They focused on the importance or the perceived importance of the project. They focus on project alignment, if it's aligned with what they are trying to achieve. It focuses on communication and their strengths in their communication skills. And it also focuses on the time availability. Do they have time, true time for this project? And then by assessing those key stakeholders, what that gives you is it gives you scoring. And in that scoring, you can then do what I consider to be a RAG status, just in case you're not familiar with that, because it's not a global terminology. Red, amber, green. So here in the step 3, you can see that I've plotted the results from step 1 and step 2. I've plotted that onto the hierarchical chart of the organization. And here we can see this Martin Baker is a CEO. And obviously he has direct reports that report into him. And just by color coding this, I can now see immediately, if I was a project manager, who I could tackle. Now, my focus areas here is that I would engage heavily with Kay Brownfield. That's the red team B person. And I would really want to bring her results up. I would want to speak to her. I would want to understand why she's not engaged, or how her project knowledge is so low, or why she doesn't have time. And I would want to try to fix that, or certainly help her with that. And by doing that, if I could get Kay from a red to even an amber, what will happen is that will drip feed down into her immediate team. So all of a sudden, this Travis, Percy, and James underneath her will all have a better understanding of what's going on in that project, because our line manager has told them so. Another area you can work here with is the Natalie Tyler. Now, Natalie Tyler is great new. So why would we want to focus on her? Because she is considered now a positive change player. Positive change players, they are the best support you could ever ask for, because they are really, really, really engaged. They're really eager. They're really keen. So what I would want from Natalie here is to work with her so that she can start focusing on Dion and Eden. And just that one person, just by coming to them and saying, you know what, Natalie, you scored really high. Like, I'm really pleased that you're really positive about this project. Would you be able to support me a bit more? Maybe you could talk to Dion about that. You'll be amazed on how much a positive change player can just spread like wildfire the great news about your project. Working with Natalie, you're going to get more people engaged. And then the third one is I'd focus on Erwin. Again, Erwin is also a positive person, but he's got some ambers below him. Let's find out why. Erwin might be able to help with his team, but he will also more likely be able to help with Kay. So just 3 people, and you can change that entire chart to a lot more greens and no reds. Just one little tool. Another thing that I thought I would talk to you about today is the ABC scorecards. As project managers, we talk about success criteria and pre-initiation in our business cases, in our project initiation documents, whatever your terminology might be, or whatever tools, deliverables that you're creating, you will have project success criteria. And that will be several different things based on the project that you're working with. And there will always be a people element in that success criteria, right? If it's touching people, it's going to have a people success criteria. But how do we quantify people's success criteria? Often it's made on assumptions. It's made on, well, actually, yeah, we need people to use the product. But how do you measure that? One way that we measure it in our methodology is we focus on a change activity called ABC scorecards. And what that is, it's a very quick survey that we send out. Again, you can use different tools to do that, depending on your systems. You can fill out questionnaires, or you can ask line managers to put it into their one-to-ones with their colleagues. And you ask them questions based on 3 areas: awareness, adoption, and competency. Are they aware of the project that's happening? Are they willing to adopt that project happening? And are they able to? Do they know how to? So you ask them a set questions and they get weighted. And as you can see here, we've got the before in the grey. So you can see that this person here, let's say Jane, has been weighted very low. So she's slightly aware of it. She doesn't feel confident in using it, and she's slightly willing to use the product. Then you put Jane through the cycle of your project. So this is at the start, you ask her the questions. Jane then goes on that journey with you. She receives the engagement. She receives the ability to learn. And then by the end of it, you ask her the exact same questions again. And what you want to see is you want to see a larger triangle. Now this shows a very perfect triangle there. Maybe I need to change that because it doesn't work that way. But for example, maybe Jane now scores high on be aware and adoption, but her competency is still slightly low. What this enables you to do is it enables you to focus your attention on those colleagues who haven't improved their score or maybe need a little bit more improvement than the others. So in this scenario, it might be that you're working with an audience of 50 people that are going to have to embrace your project for it to be successful. Now, out of that, there may be 5 people that need that one-to-one attention. 5 people in the grand scheme of things isn't a lot of time that it will take you, and you can have somebody in the team that will go over and support them, or you can pick up the phone to a line manager or a champion and say, hey, could you help Jane? She probably needs a little bit more help. By doing that, you're going to ensure that people are there ready to use the product, but also you can put this tangible evidence into your success criteria to say, guess what, guys? We said at the start of this project, we were going to ensure that we had a success rate of 80%. We have done that because ding, 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 the ABC scorecards have achieved this. So some takeaways for you today. I wanted to give you some closing notes. First one, business colleagues matter. Don't assume a project's success without them. Okay, they really, truly will be the difference of your project succeeding. Number 2, always decide on the deliverables suitable to the type and size of the project. I gave you 3 examples here today, and in the methodology, there's lots of different activities you can do, but not all of them will be suitable for your organization. It's making sure that you think about change activities that would be suitable. There's no point making this over complex. Number 3, ensure you divvy the accountability across the teams based on their strengths. So it might be that some of this you sit and go, oh, I don't want to do that. Fine. But somebody in your team will be more willing to do that. So be a great project manager, coordinate that, and make sure that the experts can help in those different areas. Lean on their strengths. Be sure to work with the PMOs and the management to standardize and govern the expected deliverables. Now, again, depending on your organization, depends on whether you have a PMO, a project management office, maybe you have a portfolio management office, maybe you just have a management that is making the decisions on the projects that you're achieving. Whatever that governance is, ensure that you work with them so that they do have an expectation from you. And that means that you're going to be held accountable and you're going to be more likely to deliver these people-focused activities. Keep it simple. This is not about becoming a change manager per se. It's about taking on change activities that you can truly do. So make them simple templates and guidelines that you can work with. And then finally, then 6, ensure that your teams have the what's in it for them benefits of involving change. We talk about making the whole team accountable. Well, you need to sell the idea to them. There's no point you turning up tomorrow and say, right, guys, we're going to be doing all these change activities if they don't know why they should do it. Everyone in your team will want this to be a successful project. That's a benefit for them. Let's talk to them about that, create that awareness that I've created with you today, hopefully. And then number 7 is consider pulling in the experts. Obviously, I've created my methodology. I have my own products, and there are options for you if you don't feel this is something that you can do in your organization. Within Be Change, we actually have different options for you. We have our training platform. So we have created self-paced foundation and practitioner courses. That means that you sign up to them and you learn in your own time. The first course takes 1 to 2 hours. The second course will take up to 10 hours, depending on the way that you self-pace yourself. In that, what you have is you have really easy to follow reference guides, you have downloadable ebooks, you can download our templates. All of the things we talk about today are in there. You can also have your checklist to make sure that you are following the governance that you need. And then you have the 15-minute assessment at the end, which means that you can actually get certified and receive accreditation for the B methodology. That means you can put that onto your CVs. It means that you can become a lot more creditable within your organizations, and it will give you a really true start within change activities. The other thing we also have is the trainer led. So if you don't feel like you have the focus for a self-paced training, why not come along to our trainer led courses? It's a 2-day course. Our next one is on the 9th and 10th of May. It's with expert trainers, including myself and another trainer. We will go through the whole process with you. But what we ask you to do is pre-work. Bring your projects to us. Even if you have to keep them anonymous, it gives you the ability to learn rather than theory. Actually come along and bring them to us, and we will go into breakout rooms with you and work through your live projects. So it really will give you something that you can go home or go back to work with. As well as that, you also do get the reference guides, you get the ebooks that you can download for your study notes, you also get the templates that we mentioned, the checklists, and you get the ability to sit the assessment, and if you pass that assessment you also get the accreditation once more. We also do have a 10% off because you've been to today's webinar. So if you do want to register for that today, then we'll welcome you to the course, and we can give you a 10% on all of the courses. And then finally, if you do feel this is something that your organization will truly benefit for, why not pull us in? We do what we call an enterprise masterclass. Step 1, we work with your PMO and we look at streamlining those project toolkits for you so that we can incorporate those change activities. And then we come in and we train the team. So that might be that we train all of your project management teams. It might be that we focus just on project managers. It depends on obviously your organization, but that's a 2-day interactive learning workshop that we do there. And then finally, you also get the accreditation. And then something we do have is our on-demand change support. So many of our clients will say, okay, great, Nick, brilliant. We got our change activities, but sometimes we just need a little bit more of your skill set. Fine. We also do call-off days that you can use with us, so that if you want us to help you from advice, from analyzing the data, from strategies, creation of strategies, right through to creating your What's in it for me videos or your training guides, whatever it might be, we can actually do the entire part of that process. So that's something else we can help you with. So that's everything from me today. First and foremost, thank you again for being at the live stream. If you'd like to contact us, feel free to go ahead and email us at hello@bchange.co.uk. Obviously, we've got our website that we would encourage you to go on and take a poke around. And then if you do want to listen to any of my different channels or our different channels, we're on LinkedIn. Obviously, we've done this through LinkedIn, so I'm assuming we might have already been connected. There's our YouTube channel, which gives you lots of different guides, support. We talk about business change, but we also talk about different training tools that we use. There's the podcast. If you want to listen to any of the podcasts, some of them are relevant for what we've discussed today. Others are just a little bit more fun. And then finally, we do have our blog. So go ahead and sign up to our newsletter, where we do talk about case studies in that, and we go through different examples of what we've done and how we work through it. And if you do want to take advantage of our trainer-led course that's coming up in May, then we are offering that 7-day discount. So all you need to do is sign up with the Projects People code, and we can welcome you onto the course.